Hello, Angela Brown here with Made to Heal. Please like and subscribe to my channel and share it with friends and sisters, coworkers, mom, daughters, whoever. Trying to get the word out, so I appreciate your help. So I wanted to talk about a certain subject today, but before I get into that, I'm going to do a reminder. I have a 12-week course for Christian women, and the link will be in the comments below, so please click on the link if you're interested in registering. Spread the word. It is for all Christian women of all walks of life. It starts April 1st and goes to June 17th. And I just share my journey and all the things that I've learned on my journey. I went from 30 plus years of depression, suicidal thought, postpartum depression, anger, resentment, not knowing how to move through things. I was stuck, stagnant, and so many things were holding me back. And I finally surrendered to God and hit rock bottom. And basically, He gave me the tools, whether it was people that came into my life, a class that I found out about. That's how God works, right? He doesn't step in and do things for us. He sends earthly angels. He sends ideas. He sends books. He sends people, ideas. I did say ideas, but He just sends everything our way, and there's no such thing as coincidence. And so I had all these things come my way, and I literally I'm going on 9 years without depression, without suicidal thoughts, knowing how to work through my emotions and clear them. No, my life isn't perfect, but I have the tools to resort to help me through the hard times, to help me through the challenges and the trials that might come my way. So I'm telling you, they have been life-changing for me. And I literally, I wake up every day with gratitude in my heart and joy, and I'm trying my hardest. I am trying my hardest to live more like our Savior Jesus Christ. And literally, that's what we're here for, is to learn the pure love of Christ. And so I walk you through on all the things that I learned in my journey and help Christian women heal spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. It is possible, and it's wonderful, all the things that I have learned, and I'm here to share with you. So please click on that. If you have any questions, I have past videos on my Facebook pages, and I don't know that I really did a live. Maybe I do a live one next week on what this class offers. So maybe that's what I do. But I'm telling you, it's life altering, changing in so many good ways. So check it out. And the link will be in the comments below. So again, subscribe to my channel. I want to talk about something huge and important to me, and I think it is to a lot of people, because this is something that I have struggled with my entire life, and I still struggle with it. It's something that I will have to continue to work till the end of my journey here on earth, and hopefully I can get a hold on it. But it is something that I think the natural man in us, I think a lot of people struggle, no matter where you find yourself on the journey, whether you feel like you're on top of the world or, not very far on your journey. I think everybody can struggle with this from time to time, and this is what it is. It is letting go and surrendering to God and trusting in the process along the way. That is so hard sometimes because life happens to us. We have things come our way. We have, whether it be health problems, financial problems, wayward children, or just tough situations where we're having a hard time connecting with family members, whatever it may be. Maybe we're struggling at a job and trying to find joy and the purpose in that. Maybe we are just trying to find our purpose, and it's hard. And so this is what I resort to a lot. And I have to remember that God is in charge. And remember, you've surrendered your life to God. And when we surrender our life to God, it's it's when you come to that knowledge that, okay, God, I surrender to you. Like, you know better than me. I'm laying it all out. It's yours. Take it. Like, take it from there. And when we surrender to God, that doesn't mean we sit back on our rear ends and say, okay, you God, you got it from here, and I don't have to worry about anything. And so I'm going to just kick back, kick my feet up, and just see what you're going to do for me. That's not how God works. When I say surrender to God, it literally means roll up your sleeves, push up your sleeves, roll them up, and get to work. But surrendering it to God means doing it His way. Our way, let me tell you what our way looks like. When we do things our way, when I resorted to doing things my way, it was like kicking my foot into pricks and thorns and hitting my head into this brick wall and just, not feeling like I can get anywhere forward. But when we surrender to God, it's amazing what happens to us, not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. So many things happen on those levels. So, just surrendering to God is huge. God's ways are not our ways. So I want to let you know what happens. What happens when we don't surrender to God and we're not trusting in the process? Doubt. Self-doubt starts creeping in. We start doubting and we start thinking, well, maybe this would be better for me. Maybe if X, Y, and Z were to happen, and oh gosh, I hope this would happen. And if we could just get that to happen, then this will fall into place. And then this, and then this. And we try to orchestrate the strings, right? In this huge orchestra of music. God is creating an orchestra. Like, we have no idea what's going on. God is so magnificent and omnipotent, and we can't see what's going on, the great big picture. I mean, we might have a little tiny glimpse to the huge, broad stuff that's going out there. But God, when we surrender to God, we are allowing things to take place. We're able to breathe. We're able to get through. When we don't and we doubt the process of everything, that is where fear creeps in. Fears come in. Self-doubt, fears, we start questioning things, and it leads to confusion. And then we're just on a road of who knows where it's going to lead us, because we're trying to figure it out and we're trying to do it on our own. But surrendering to God, knowing that He has the perfect plan, He knows what our lives looks like. He knows what our lives look like 10 years from now, and what we're going to do, and how things are going to change. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. I don't know. We all have trials at different points in our lives. And sometimes we look at others and we're like, man, their whole life has been a trial. And it's all in how we perceive, right? How are we handling these trials? The moments of grief and the heartache and whatever is going on in our lives, how are we handling it? There's so many things going on in our lives, but we get to choose how we handle it and surrender to God. So we all have these pains and trials, and it's literally boils down to, are we going to trust the process? Maybe it's a death of a loved one. Are we going to trust that it's part of God's plan? It is everything. God has His hands in everything. And are we going to place that trust? And what are we to learn from it? How are we to grow from it? As painful as it is, maybe it's health issues. Maybe it's a debilitating disease. Maybe it's losing a job, or just financial struggles, or medical bills, or whatever it can be. There are so many problems that we all face day in and day out. But it's when the trust comes in, to where things get a little easier when we just let go. So I always refer to this story. It's my favorite story, and you've probably heard it, but I'm going to share it again because it never gets old for me. I saw it several years ago on Facebook where it was an article of these Christian women studying the Bible. They would go to Bible study classes together, and they would talk about the scriptures, and they got to Malachi. Malachi chapter 2 verses, no, I believe it's chapter 3, sorry. Chapter 3 verses 2 and 3. And it's talking about the fuller's soap and becoming refined in the fire. And these ladies really wanted to delve deep in that and find out the meaning of it. And one lady just volunteered and said, hey, I'm going to go call up a local blacksmith, and I'll just take notes and see, and I'll share what I learned with you guys. And they're like, okay, that's a great idea. So she goes, and she doesn't even tell the silversmith who she is, why she's there, what she's been studying. She just says, hey, I'm just really fascinated in your work, and I want to sit and see what it is you do. And, he invites her to his workplace, and he's holding, he's making, I don't know what he's making, but let's just say he is making a sword. And he's making a sword because he wants to help with a project of them doing a remake of the Revolutionary War. So let's just say he's making a bunch of swords. And so he's holding this sword. He's working with this piece of metal, and he's holding it in the fire. And she's sitting there looking at him, and she's like, and I'm paraphrasing, and I never can do the story justice of what I read on Facebook. So I'm sorry I don't have that gift, but hopefully you can get the gist of it. But she's looking at him holding this in the heat, and she's like, wow, that's really hot. She's just seeing it red and glowing with the orange and the red embers. And she's like, man, that's really hot. And he said, yes, it has to get to really hot temperatures. And I'm sure he went into depth about the heat. And she's sitting there, and she was like, wow, so how long do you need to hold that in there? And he says, for a long time. It's a long process, and I hold it there for a long time. And as he's working, and she's working on the sword, and she's like, so how do you know when it's a finished product? How do you know when it's done? If it's for a long time, and so he tells her, I know when it is done when I see my image reflecting back at me. And I really get emotional when I think about that, because our trials, our hardships in life, our goal is to get back to heaven with God, live with God again. And that's how we are going to do it. We do it through our trials. If we just came and lived this life of ease and comfort, we're not growing. We're not learning anything. And our trials, we're going through the fire. We're going through the fire. And when he knows we're done, it's when he can see his image through us, when we are living a God-led life, when we choose to quit pricking our feet against these thorns, and when we choose to stop banging our head in the wall. It's amazing what happens when we just stop in our heartache, in our trials, when we just stop and say, okay, God, my way isn't working. I'm frustrated. I'm confused. I'm tired. I'm tired, and I can't go on. And it's when we rely on God as our strength, Savior, Jesus Christ, our Savior, Jesus Christ, being a strength and a rock in our trials. I don't know how, but it does. It makes our burdens lighter, and and surrendering. We don't know God's ways. He is on he's on several levels. I mean, we have no idea. We can't understand his ways, his thinking. But it's when we are surrendering to him and living our life according to his will, it's amazing to see what can take place in our lives. So that's what I try to work on every day. I'm not perfect. I've got a lot of work to do. But I remember that story of the refiner, the blacksmith working in a shop. And when he's making his final product into perfection, and when he knows it's done, is when he can see that image reflecting back at him. And when we can take on the image of Christ, when we can put on a happier countenance, a joyful countenance, a countenance that's full of gratitude, a countenance that's full of hope, a countenance that shares the light of Christ. The light of Christ is in us all, and we have it to share with everybody around us. So it's when we work on ourselves within, when we allow God that's within us and Christ that's within us to do the work in us, to change our hearts, to change our minds and our thinking, when we allow that to take place in our lives, we are able to be easier molded into life. Life will flow a lot easier. We won't be kicking our feet against the thorns and thistles and all that and banging our head into a brick wall. So if you're a mom, maybe you're a dad, but this channel was created for Christian women, but anybody's welcome to listen and get the message. But moms especially, because I can relate, we tend to be fixers. I'm thinking back at myself when I had small children, and when your children are small, they get an owie, they fall down and they skin their knee from maybe learning for the first time to ride their bike, and we just want to run to their rescue, which we do. We run to their rescue and we fix up that owie and we kiss them all better, right? And we just want to fix things and we want to make things better. And it's great. It works when they're young. It does. But then here I am, fast forward 20 plus years, and I have adult children. And adult problems are so much more significant than those scraped knees from learning to ride a bike or from a friend hurting your child's feelings. They are so easy to walk through with your kids, right? Those are just things that we've really experienced them. We know how to get them through these. But our kids, our adult kids, go through trials that we maybe haven't had to go through. A particular trial that was probably the hardest trial yet for our family was losing our first grandchild. I won't get into the details, but he was a perfect baby, and he looked so beautiful, and he is beautiful where he's at. But he didn't stay with us, and that was the hardest thing, the hardest trial. As a grandma, it was a hard trial to go through. But my daughter, I wanted to take that pain from her. I wanted to take it away from her so badly, and I would have given anything. In fact, I told God, I said, God, I'll do anything to take this pain from her. Please let me take my daughter's pain. And, the ironic thing is the answer I got right back from that was, that's not your job. It's not your job to take her pain. Stop trying to fix things. That's my job. Don't, and so I couldn't fix. And it hasn't even been a year yet. And I know my daughter is still healing and still grieving. And there's things that I'm not able to do for her. I mean, I can be there for her. And I'm not just talking about her. I have other kids that are going through struggles and trials, adult-like problems that it's not my journey, it's not my path, it's not my life choices, and I didn't have to experience those. And so there's things that we cannot do. We can be cheerleaders, we can love them. That is our job as parents, is to love our kids, but we're not meant to fix our kids. We're not meant to get in the way of their progression. And sometimes I don't know. I didn't know I was going to cry. I'm sorry. And I didn't even bring tissue. But I don't know where you're at with your kids. I don't know how they're struggling or what. And maybe our kids are struggling because of their life choices. Maybe they're not struggling. Maybe they are living God's will, and they are still having the pain and trials, and we wonder, why do good things happen to, or bad things happen to good people, and why do good things happen to bad people? We get these questions going on, and it's not our worry. It's not our worry. We are all on our journey, and God teaches us each individually what it is we are to go through. He gives us our trials. We chose them before we came. We knew what they were. And I'm grateful we don't have this crystal ball to see what it is we're going to have to face tomorrow, next month, next year, 10 years from now. We don't know our trials. But I do know, and I am bearing testimony that God's ways, when we surrender to God and trust in the process, and instead of thinking back, well, I wished this and this and this would have happened, or I wish so-and-so wouldn't have helped me in this way or done this, or I wished it could have ended up like this. When we stop planning our lives and just living with the flow, surrendering to God, rolling up our sleeves and getting to work and literally living a God-led life and trusting the process, when we can do that, our burdens become light. And sometimes we feel the heaviness of our burdens. But I look at that scripture in Matthew, and I can't remember exactly where it is, but where he talks about making our burdens light. I look at light on several different aspects. Making our burdens light means he will shed knowledge. He will give us wisdom in our heartache. He will give us glimpses of hope and just many things that we don't think on, and perspective that is different than ours. And so it truly is a beautiful process when we learn to trust the process and get to work. Life is hard. It's not going to be easy, but to feel the sweet, sweet peace of Jesus and all that he offers us is so, so worth it. It is worth every trial we go through. Now, another thing that I remember seeing several months ago was a Facebook post, another social media post. But it's my favorite thing. It shows this little girl. She's between the ages of 2 and 3, right? Just this little girl reaching for this little stuffed animal, a teddy bear that's a little stuffed animal. And Jesus is in front of her, and he's pulling that little stuffed animal away. I think this is what I remember. Maybe I'm completely wrong, so I apologize if I'm getting it wrong. But Jesus is pulling it away and saying no. But behind his back, which the little child cannot see, is a great, big, ginormous, those Valentine-sized teddy bears, just huge, behind his back to give to her instead. So we don't know God's ways, but I know for a fact that his ways are bigger and better than mine. and the reward and the and what we get in the end. We might not see it in this lifetime, but just know our reward in heaven, our reward that they've got for us for choosing to surrender, choosing to live a God-led life, is so much more grand than we could ever imagine in this lifetime. So trust the process, surrender to God, let go and let God. Share this channel with other people, please. I'm trying to get the message out. And again, my 12-week course for Christian women starts April 1st and ends June 17th. I would love to walk with you on your journey of healing, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. We are all made to heal because God and Christ are in us. And so again, that link will be in the comments below. And also, please subscribe to this channel. I go live weekly, so please subscribe, share it with others. Help me get my message out. I am here to share a message of hope, a message of healing, a message of just the beautiful things of life, and a message of we are meant to have joy amongst our trials. And it is possible. I'm walking and living proof. So God bless. You have a wonderful week. And until next time, God bless.